If you want it, you can get it, let me know. If you want it straight up, let's go!
Let's go! Is that how the rest of the song? Is that how the rest of the song goes? I can't even. Oh, my headache's back.
I wonder why. Hi, podcast besties.
Hi, besties.
How are you today? Not you, them.
Fuck you.
We'll wait. Uh-huh.
Enough about you. Well, I'm fantabulous. Thanks for asking.
You just cut them off.
That's fine.
Really rude.
Well, I am rude. That's fine.
Honestly, I won't stand for that.
It's a good thing you're sitting. I knew that's where you were going.
Anyways, welcome back to another episode of the Isn't That Odd podcast on episode 21.
The big 2-1. Doesn't have the same
with that.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
With that.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same ring to it.
And we are, as you know, your host. I'm Breana.
And I'm Paul.
And today we have a couple great stories for you. And it's not just me talking anymore. And that's really great because that stressed me out.
And I know how I feel.
Yeah, I get
I've had to do it a few times.
Today I will be covering a nice little paranormal story. And Breana will be covering a
true crime story.
Yeah, so we got a great topics for you today.
And today just happens to be our Father's Day episode. This is coming at you live a few days after Father's Day. So
happy Father's Day
to all those great dads out there. I wouldn't know what that's like because I have daddy issues.
Whether it's a dad or a fur dad or a fish dad or a cat dad or a cow dad or a
Paul knows what that's like because Paul has a great dad, but I don't have a dad.
I have a great dad,
so I don't know what that's like because I have daddy issues. But shout out to Paul's dad. Hi, Paul's dad.
Shout out to my dad.
Shout out to Paul's dad. Hi, Paul's dad.
We stand Paul's dad.
We stand Paul's dad.
We do.
Yeah, he's a great dude. I've met him a few times. He's really funny.
Don't boost.
He's funny.
He's
funny as heck.
Don't do that.
Pam, if you're listening. Caitlin, if you're listening. Tell him I said he's funny.
Don't feed into that.
Tell him he's funny.
Don't feed into that. Because when that whole ice fiasco comes in, he's like, "You have no ice. What kind of house is this?" And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up."
That was so triggering. I don't even talk about the ice machine anymore.
He's like, "What kind of house you have here?" I was like, "A house where there's fucking 50 people and everyone's using my little ice machine." Like,
no. Paul's Christmas party, there were so many of us packed in this teeny tiny of a house. It's actually not even that tiny of a house. There's just a fuck ton of us in here.
We used the garage, so we expanded some.
And so we're all like using the ice machine, and I am crazy about like drinking and driving, so I was like drinking water mostly for most of the night. And so I was going to like put ice in my cup, and I go to use the ice machine and nothing comes out. And I just happened to turn my head and see Paul walking up to me, and I was like, "Hey, there's no ice in here." And he's like, "I know!" And I was like, "Okay." I just so casually was just like, "Hey, like, just so you know, there's no ice in here." And he just yelled at me, and I will never let it go because I'm just like traumatized.
I don't understand people who enjoy hosting, and Andrew does, and I don't understand because it stresses me the fuck out.
Yeah, I could tell because you yelled at me.
Stresses me out.
You yelled at me
because obviously you go to someone else's house, you show up, you eat their food, you drink their drinks, whatever. You don't have to worry about anything. But when you host, you have to worry about people coming in. You have to say hi, and you have to help figure out where to put their stuff. And then you have to go to 1,700 different groups, make sure everyone's okay. And it's just, no event that we throw, I never just sit down and just enjoy. Because I always feel like I have to go say hi to this person, go say hi to this person, go see what they're doing, make sure we have fucking ice, make sure we have drinks, make sure we have food, make sure the dessert's out about an hour everyone gets here. Like, it's just so many things. And then during the Christmas party, we have a Yankee swap, so make sure that's getting all set, and who's in that, and who's out of that, and making the numbers for it. There's just I hate it.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of the desserts, I made fucking red velvet cookies for that party, and they were a hit, and I was so self-conscious about them. but everybody liked them.
Yeah, they were so much a hit that Andrew had one, and he came up to me and was like, "Who made those cookies?" Like, I need to know. I need to have the recipe. I need more. And he was just like feeding for those cookies for months after. So much so that Breana actually went out of her way to make him his own batch later on.
Because I love you, Andrew.
And it's funny because he'll never hear that.
Nope.
Never.
Hee
But yeah, Case Boy, hosting, hate it.
Attending, hate it. Anxiety, off the charts.
Oh, I'll go to parties.
Not me.
I have no problem going to parties and being a part of parties.
I'll never go to... That's a lie. Because if you don't invite me again, I'm going to have FOMO and I'll be very sad.
You're on the guest list going forward. Don't worry.
I was going to say, unless Brenna's there, but also, if you don't invite me, I'm going to be sad.
You'll be invited. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
Because I'm sure we're still going to host it every single year, and I'm going to be stressed every single year.
Great.
Except
and then I'll remember not to bring up the ice.
No. This year, I'm going to buy bags of ice.
Okay, great. And then I'll remember to never bring up anything else.
Well, you can. But if you think it's a popular theory already floating around the house, don't bring it up.
No, just never bring up anything ever, because now I'll be anxious that you're going to yell at me.
I didn't yell.
I'll unpack that in therapy. Don't worry.
I didn't.
I'll bring it to Lauren. Like, hey, Lauren, Paul yelled at me, and I'm still thinking about it.
He yelled at me a year
7
ago.
months later. Paul yelled at me one time, and I'm still thinking about it.
How does that make you feel?
Traumatized.
Same. I believe it.
As well, yes. Thank you.
I got a point.
A lot of people.
I gotta stop referencing that. Speaking of,
You scared
because
me.
this goes along with that. You know,
No,
back
I
a
don't
couple
know.
episodes ago, you wanted to know what my secret plan was and
Yeah,
like who I had.
yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you, but
Fuck you.
A
No.
new revelation- no,
Fuck
new
you.
revelation in the story.
Fuck you.
new revelation.
Why would you bring it up if you're not going to tell
a
me?
new
Why would you bring it
revelation
up if you're not going to tell me?
is I have another accomplice, so now I
Why
have
would
two
you?
chances of it going through.
Why would you bring it up if you're not going to tell me?
I have two chances now.
Yeah. Why would you bring it up if you're not going to tell
Well,
me?
this one I'll tell you who the new. I'll tell you who this chance is.
Is it Nor?
No,
Oh.
it's Jocelyn.
Oh, so Jocelyn.
Because Jocelyn, shout
listened
out,
to the-
love you.
Yeah, Jocelyn
listens. Great listener.
Yeah.
Love her.
Hi, Jocelyn. Wait. Pause. Jocelyn, come to the podcast. Thank you.
That's
Anyway.
all.
Jocelyn,
Yeah.
be my friend. Thank you.
So,
Jocelyn, I love you. Thank you. Go ahead.
So yeah, she was listening to that
Episode.
podcast. I don't
Yeah.
remember which one it was.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not trying to remember.
yeah.
So she just randomly in that group text was just like, "I'll play it for you. Don't worry," and then sent a gif of Trisha Paytas, and she's like, "My fave. She always got me."
Can you stop being such a fucking dickhead and just fucking tell me?
No.
Tell.
I need my one solid source, so it can't be ruined.
Why do you think that I would ruin it? I'd
be saying it on the podcast.
You could tell me after.
Oh, I'll tell you after.
I live for the bit.
I'll tell you.
I would
after.
help them do it. It'd
I'll
be
tell you
so
after.
funny.
I will tell you then.
It'd be so
I
funny.
just want to tell you right now.
It'd be so funny.
Okay, great. I won't tell you.
I'll put in surround sound.
Surround sound.
I'll put up a fucking screen with lyrics so people could follow around.
Can you please?
People could sing along. I would help the person do it. I would wear a cloak. I would... He typed it out on the computer. And now I'm angry.
Why are you angry?
I'm so angry. Because that was so fucking stupid.
Why was that stupid?
I could name many reasons why that's stupid.
No, I was saying that's
the person you want to do that for you.
no, this person was going to.
Who's going to do it for you?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Not the real one, you doofus. You know the code names that I... Oh, my Lord. So there's just this thing where...
Okay.
Some of my friends and acquaintances and stuff that I talk about, I give code names to Breana because that's just how she associates with them. And so I wrote the code name of this person on there, and she thought I was talking about the actual...
real person.
It's
the thing
not.
is, I just... If you
So she
haven't-
gave me that look of what the fuck, like, oh, you're such an idiot, but that, no.
Because if you haven't noticed, it's been brought to our attention that we talk too fast. If you haven't noticed, it's because I have ADHD. My brain moves a mile a motherfucking minute. I'm like zoom, 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 broom, broom, broom.
Got it. What is it? Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Gotta get that, whatever it is. Yeah, whatever. ADHD. Boop, boop.
Gotta get that boom, boom. My I forget the
Pip pip the doodly doo, whatever. Gotta get
Did
through.
you boop boop into the mic?
I said pip pip the doodly doo. That's
No,
what
before
I said.
that. You said like
Probably.
zoom zoom boop, like
Maybe.
some shit like that.
ADHD. Mile a minute. So I can't for the life of me remember people's names. Faces? Oh yeah, 100%. I never forget a face. Names? We'll never remember somebody's name. So Paul gives me nicknames for people. And there's just, I don't know why this one specific friend of his looks like this one specific famous person.
I was gonna give it away, but go ahead. No, go ahead. It's already there. Go ahead.
And that's it.
Oh. Yeah, so I used that famous person's name to like tell her
That's all I was gonna say.
as the bit. And then that's when she gave me that reaction of, oh, you really think so? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Every
That's the
other one of
background
your
that.
friends though has a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. Yeah. All your other
Just about.
You have nicknames for a lot of your other friends, though, but there's a few of them who have famous people once. Yeah. So that doesn't give it away.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, so yeah, those are the two people that...
I was like...
those are the two people that when I
angry.
die, they are going to make sure that Trisha Paytas's I Love You, Jesus is played.
That made me so angry. I was just like, are you stupid or are you dumb? And then it was like, oh, wait.
Anyways, clearly Breana is a little unhinged, so we're going to get into the stories now because...
Anywho.
I don't know if I can kiki anymore with her.
Yeah. Hee
Hee the kiki?
My sources today.
Why, Kiki? Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? Oh, wait. The floor is yours.
Whoa, wait.
Without further ado, the floor is yours.
Doug Dimmadome on the dip.
Doug Dimmadome.
My sources today are wikipedia.org, allthingsinteresting.com, and history.com. I feel like all things interesting should just always be sorted.
It's always mine. If you ever wonder where I get my stories from, just check all.
I also love how I
always.
always say sorted and I never say sourced. I always just say sorted. It's not a word. It's a word in my vocabulary.
Sorted is a word, but it's not.
It's not the way I use it.
No.
Again, this is going to be a true crime story. So first of all, shout out to our coworker Kate for today's case recommendation. When you hear the last name Harlson, you probably think about the actor Woody Harrelson.
No, but okay.
What do you think of?
Nobody, but now I think of Woody Harrelson.
Known mostly for his roles in popular movies like Zombieland, Now You See Me 1 and 2, and the Hunger Games franchise, just to name a few. This man, to say the least, he's an A-list celebrity. Yeah, I don't know what just fucking happened. He's in a lot of movies and TV shows.
A lot of them.
A lot of people. A lot of people. You want to know something that's not common knowledge, though?
I do.
Fun fact.
Oh, great.
What would you say if I told you that his father was an American hitman?
Oh my god. I just simply wouldn't believe you.
Now, if you already knew this, good for you. Do you want a fucking cookie? Because I, for one...
You say I'm passive aggressive with shit. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because I, for one, did not know this. And that's why I wanted to cover this case today.
Okay.
I wanted to cover the case of the American hitman and organized crime figure, Charles Harlson.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Make your money, King.
I can't believe you just said.
I bet he made some guap. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, actually. You made... Do you remember when I told you that I converted...
So is Woody Harrelson a Nepo baby?
Not necessarily. No, he's not.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Because I'm sure his dad had connects into Hollywood and shit. So
No, because his dad left him at a young age. His dad left him like a really young age. So they didn't reconnect until his dad was already in jail.
Awkward.
Talk about daddy issues. That's a load of barnacles. Charles Harlson was born on July 23rd of 1937 in Lovelady, Texas. Sidebar: who names these towns in Texas? Because who the fuck sits down?
I'm sure he loved ladies, didn't
Who sits down in a town hall and is like, you know what, we're naming this goddamn town Lovelady. They signed the paper. to name the town. Stupid. To parents Alma Lee and Vidi, I think is that Vidi, whatever. Harlson was his dad. Oddly enough, it's reported that many of his family members worked in some kind of law enforcement, and Charles himself even served in the Navy briefly in the 1950s before turning to go down a completely different path in life. Charles was married a total of 4 times throughout his life. He was married to Nancy Hillman Harrelson. He was also married to Diane Lou Oswald, who is Woody Harrelson's mother. He was married to Joanne Harrelson, and then he was lastly married to Gina Adele Foster.
So this man got around.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he got around.
Yeah, he did.
Papa was a Rolling Stone.
That's what it was like to be built Ford Dove.
That's what you could say.
Probably did drive a Ford.
He's from Texas. You know what they say about Texas.
He drove a Ford, for sure.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Besides his ego.
Not during Pride Month. So Charles was first charged with robbery in 1959 in Los Angeles, where he then worked as an encyclopedia salesman. And I like to imagine he was a door-to-door encyclopedia salesman, because I imagine him just knocking on people's doors being like, do you want to buy this book, ma'am? No? Okay, goodbye.
I would hate it if someone came up to my door trying to sell me an encyclopedia.
They had so many door-to-door salesmen at that time. They were just like...
You have a great relationship with door-to-door salesmen, don't you?
I have a great relationship with door-to-door salesmen. That's how we bought our vacuum. Don't talk about it.
Okay.
I felt bad for that man, and then Kiwan bought a vacuum. I didn't buy the vacuum. Kiwan did.
Does the vacuum still suck?
Yes.
Does it suck or does it suck?
It sucks.
Which
it does
one?
its job.
Oh, so it does suck.
It does
successfully.
Suck. It sucks successfully.
Got it.
Suck. Say that 5 times fast.
I don't even know what you said. Besides, that's 1. 2. Go.
Are you having a seizure?
Yes, go.
Why are you yelling at me to go when you're having a seizure?
I was copying you. You told me to say it 5 times fast, and I did.
Go!
Green means go.
I'm also curious, though, if he was an over-the-phone... Oh my god, I thought he was peeing again. I'm curious if he was an over-the-phone encyclopedia salesman, because you know how in Stranger Things, when Joyce is on the phone with the encyclopedia salesman, I'm curious if he was one of those salesmen too. Regardless, he was arrested for robbery.
Good for him.
Shut up. And then in 1968, he was arrested 3 more times.
You know,
he was arrested
68.
69. But he was arrested twice for murder. He was acquitted for 1 murder in
Slay.
In 1970, and that was the murder of Alan Harry Berg. But in 1973, he was convicted of killing a grain dealer named Sam Bengara Jr., and it was a murder for hire plot, and he was paid $2,000 for committing the crime. Which I know what you're going to ask, Paul. What is that in today's dollars? Don't worry, I did the math for you. It's $8,357.11.
It's a decent check.
It's a lot of money. That's like...
What you can do with $8,000? A lot.
A lot. You know how much doll hairs that is?
It's a lot of dollars.
It's a lot of doll hairs.
Sounds like I'm on the wrong side of biz.
He was sentenced to 15 years behind bars for this crime.
But he still got $8K.
Yeah, though he was released after just 5 years for good behavior for committing this crime. Though that good behavior was clearly just for show, because once he was released, he started planning his next big hit. And his next big hit just ended up being a sitting federal judge.
He said, go big or go home. He better have got a big check for that.
U.S. District Judge John H. Wood Jr. was known as, quote, Maximum John, among other judges and prosecutors that he worked with. They called him this because he was known for the extremely harsh and long sentences he gave to drug dealers. And to be honest, as he should, you know? As he should. With that being said, Texas drug lord Jamel Chagara, I think is how you pronounce his name, was facing charges for narcotics smuggling, and he hired Charles and his then wife Joanne in the spring of 1979.
Oh, so they were a duo.
Yes. They hired him to, quote, take care of Maximum John. He hired them to take care of Maximum John before he got the chance to preside over Jamel's drug trial. And by preside, for those who don't know what that means, it basically means like the judge in charge of the particular court case, basically like to rule over it. He paid Charles $250,000, which in today's doll hairs, Paul. Give me a guess. What do you think?
$1 million.
Good guess. $1,044,638.43.
It's a cent for me.
Which is an increase of I can't even tell you the increase because it's a lot. It's just so much I can't even like fathom.
Fathoming.
Which is an increase of $794,638.93.
That's a lot of cents.
What the fuck? Inflation.
I'm not saying I wouldn't kill nobody for $1 million.
A sitting federal U.S. judge, $1 million. That's insane.
I'm not saying I would kill someone for $1 million.
That's just crazy.
I'm not saying I wouldn't kill someone for $1 million.
Just crazy.
It's a lot of money.
That's crazy.
That could solve all my problems.
That's crazy.
I know they say money can't buy happiness, but
I'd be happy with $1 million.
I don't need that much money to solve some.
I can tell you right now, if I had $1 million, I would not be depressed. A lot of my problems would be solved. With that being said, send me $1 million.
Breana is looking to be a hit woman.
I'm not actually. Correction, I'm not looking to be a hit woman because that's a lot of work. Just send me the money.
Not a lot of work. She said, be my sugar daddy with no sugar.
Splenda daddy, if you will.
I can get down with the Splenda daddy.
It's all coming together,
Yes. Actually, send us $1 million and Andrew and I will send you feet pics. That's what we'll do. We're worth it.
I thought you were talking to me. I was like, absolutely not.
We're worth it. They'll be elusive.
I was like, I don't want to see your feet pics.
They'll be rare. You could sell them for more.
I don't.
Honestly, we're giving you a discount.
I don't like feet at all.
I don't care. I'm just talking to whoever's listening.
I know. I thought you were talking to me though. I was like, I don't like feet at all.
Whoever wants to give us $1 million, you can get rare feet pics from us, and that is priceless. Anyways, go on.
I don't want to kink shame. I want to a little bit though.
You should.
Anyway, so Jamel ended up paying this much because 1, he's a drug lord, and to be honest, he got it like that. And 2, because he thought he would be facing life in prison. So it just makes sense to murder the fucking judge, right?
Well, and also it's a fucking federal judge. You gotta put your money where your mouth is, buddy.
No, but it just makes total sense, right? Instead of like just like not being a drug dealer, it just makes sense to instead just murder the judge. That makes the most sense.
Yes. It does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally.
Not that they can find another judge and still try you for the same thing.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. On May 29th, 1979, Charles shot the judge in the back with a single bullet. And on that literal day, Jamel was scheduled to go before the judge in El Paso, Texas. He used a high-powered rifle with a scope and shot Judge Wood outside of his home in San Antonio, Texas, while he was getting into his car. This would actually be the first time in U.S. history that a sitting judge would be assassinated. Later on, at the scene of the crime, shattered bullet fragments, would be found at the scene of the crime, tracing back to a .240 Weatherby Mark V rifle, and that type of rifle actually was purchased by Joanne, who at the time was Charles' wife. So all this gets found out later on and ties into the investigations. That's how they end up finding out that he's the one who actually went into doing this. Following this assassination, a manhunt is clearly ensued because he's a federal judge. This has never happened before. Everyone's like, what the fuck? The FBI ends up finally catching Charles and arrests him in September of 1980. So it's over a year after the assassination happens.
Damn.
Charles went through a 6-hour standoff high off his ass on cocaine. He's acting... Yeah. Cocaine, am I right? So this man's acting crazy as hell. He even, quote, admitted to also assassinating President John F. Kennedy. And it's kind of a weird situation, to be honest. I looked into it because I was like, ooh, is this going to be like a true crime / conspiracy stories that I'm going to have? Like, am I going to blow Paul's mind? But I'm very confused, so I don't know. But he basically told people, and he drew maps to show where he was, quote, hiding during the assassination of the then president. So basically, my man was just taking credit for anything.
I mean, part of the JFK conspiracy is that it was a two-man project.
Yeah. And to be honest, this guy was really good at his fucking job.
That's what I'm saying.
He was a very good assassin.
It.
Yeah, he was a very good assassin. He clearly, if he fucking killed this fucking judge with one shot to the back. Mm-hmm. So he probably could have.
I'm not saying he didn't.
He later like recants his statement saying like, listen, I was high, like, you know, whatever. But like he drew maps showing where he would have been, quote, if he did it. So it's like, A
little sussy-gussy, if you ask me.
Yeah. But finally, he ended up giving himself up. The FBI was also given a, quote, anonymous tip about Charles' involvement in the assassination of the judge. And I say this tip is, quote, anonymous because I'm pretty sure that it came from Jamel and his brother, because they were also given a recording of a conversation that happened during a jailhouse visit between Jamel and his brother Joe, where they talked about Charles' involvement in the murder of the judge. Charles actually denied having anything to do with the crime at trial, and he said that he only took credit so that Jamel would actually pay him the large sum, the $2,500.
Yeah.
25.
250,000.
Whatever. Yeah, I said. I was like, what did I even say originally?
250,000.
Yeah, I was like, what did I even say originally? It's gone now. I'm like, whatever. Yeah. Oddly enough, Woody Harrelson found out this man was his father on a random day in 1981 while listening to the radio. He heard this crazy-ass story unfolding with all the details that I just told you, and he asked his mother if the older Harrelson had any relation to him because, you know, he had the same last name. And to his surprise, his mother was like, yeah, that's your crazy-ass daddy.
Oh.
And Woody ended up following his father's trial, and on December 14th, 1982, Charles Harrelson was handed 2 life sentences, and this was mainly based on the 2 brothers' recorded conversation, basically, like, saying that they hired him to do this. So Joe, who is the brother of Jamel, received a 10-year sentence as part of the plea bargain to testify for the prosecution, but he refused to testify against his brother. He only testified against Charles. With the absences of his brother's testimony, Jamel was actually acquitted of the murder. So he didn't even get, like, conspiracy charges, even though he's the one who hired Charles.
How the hell does that... You have literally on tape and you just said, yeah, I hired this guy to kill the judge. How do you not get anything? So it's like,
how did Charles even get his idea to kill this guy, to kill the judge? Like, he just was like, oh, woke up one day, like, let me kill this judge. So how do they have a chase? How do they even have a case against Charles if Jamel didn't hire Charles? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I'm only using Jamel's first name because, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. And I'm like, I don't feel like butchering that today. So I'm just using first name.
That's crazy to me that he got off with that.
Mm-hmm. Technicalities, man. And let's not forget Joanne, Charles' wife at the time. She played a big role in this crime. She was the one who bought the rifle. She was sentenced to a consecutive life term totaling 25 years on multiple convictions of conspiracy and perjury related to the assassination. But she was later paroled. In 2003, Joe recanted his previous statements, stating that someone other than Harrelson actually shot Judge Wood. Thus, Woody Harrelson tried everything in his power to get his father's conviction overturned, but it was unsuccessful. He wasn't able to get his father a new trial. And this is like such a random fact that I found when I was doing the research, and I just wanted to throw this in because I was like, that's weird. But Jamel was actually represented by the future mayor of Las Vegas, Oscar Goodman. So random.
Interesting.
It's random that a mayor represented a drug lord in a narcotics trial. And he had a hand in killing a sitting U.S. federal judge. Anyway. Jamel died in 2008 from cancer.
Shame.
You just started talking immediately as I was like, he died. Charles Harrelson also died in March 15th of 2007. He was found dead at the age of 56 in his prison cell at the ADX, Florence, in Colorado. He died of a heart attack. And now there's a few reasons why I wanted to cover this case today. I already told you that I didn't know about it. So when I found out about it, I was like, that's really cool. So that's one of them. 2, this is major pop culture news right now that Matthew McConaughey also might be Charles Harrelson's son.
How?
You didn't know that?
No.
So that's how Kate, who gave me this case recommendation, found out about this case and was like, you should cover this because this guy was a fucking hitman. Basically, apparently, according to Matthew McConaughey, his mother claims to have known, quote, known Woody's father around the time that she bore McConaughey. So apparently, again, Papa was a Rolling Stone. So he was married 4 times, but that doesn't mean he wasn't fucking around. Right. So apparently he was sleeping around. They slept together. She got pregnant, and the timeline
so
was just
up until this
up.
point, Matthew McConaughey has no idea who his dad is.
Allegedly. And it's kind of crazy because, let's be honest, they're rich as hell. So they've probably already done the DNA test. So they probably already know if they're brothers or not. But they've been like lifelong friends for a long time. So I feel like they already know the answers.
That's crazy.
We just don't know the answer yet, like the public.
Friends, and then just to find out you're brothers.
Yeah. So we as the public don't know yet, but I can guarantee you they probably already know. They just probably haven't told us yet.
Yeah.
The last reason I wanted to cover this case is that although Charles wasn't there and he was absent for most of Woody's life, Woody was still there for this man once he found out that that was his father. And he tried literally everything in his power, and he put so much money into getting him a retrial. And he was just trying to just form a friendship basically with him because, in his own words, he was more of a friend than he was an actual father. Mm-hmm. And so that's my case today of Charles Harrelson, the American hitman, and also the father of Woody Harrelson, and maybe Matthew McConaughey.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
And I think it's crazy that, like I said, Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson have been friends forever. And then just imagine, like, your lifelong friend, you just like, oh, we're besties. And then one day you just find out, no, you're actually a sibling.
Mm-hmm. And then, so I'm going to show Paul a picture of what Charles Harrelson looks like. And if you want to see also what he looks like, you can check out our Instagram at isntthatoddpod and you can see. But this is what he looks like. And this is him on trial for the judge's murder.
Oh, sure. He looks like a hitman. Mm-hmm. Well, the second picture, where he's like looking, he's in the courtroom and he's like looking at the camera. And
then the bottom picture is the judge. And then the one above that is Jamel.
Oh, he looks like a drug lord too.
Mm-hmm. But that is my case today. And I was like, that's why when we were talking about like possibly doing a Father's Day episode, I was like, I unintentionally did a case on a father. I was like, so the ball's in your court.
Oh, that's funny.
I was like, unintentionally.
No, I like that a lot. I didn't know what the hell you were possibly going to cover.
I know.
Today.
When Kate was like, you have to cover this, I was like, yo. I was like, I'm covering it.
That's crazy.
I know, yeah. When she was just like talking about like the Matthew McConaughey thing, I was like, what the hell? And she's like, he was a hitman. I was like, Matthew McConaughey is a hitman? And she was like, no, like Woody Harrelson's dad. I was like, Woody Harrelson's dad's a hitman? And then I started looking into it. I was like, that's crazy. And I love the movie Zombieland. And I was like, hello? And so, yeah.
I love the movie Hunger Games.
I love all the Hunger Games movies.
Haymitch. Mm-hmm. R.I.P.
Haymitch is not dead.
No, he's not.
I was like thinking real hard. I was like, hello?
It just felt right.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, thank you for enlightening us with that. That was really great. That was a piece of pop culture news that I never knew. Yeah. And I'm upset that I know. I hope
for their sake they come back as brothers because that'd be really fascinating.
I think they will.
They've been like friends for a really long time, so I think it'd be really interesting.
It would be a nice way to seal their friendship.
Yeah.
I think it should be true. I say true.
Paul has spoken.
I get a point.
Paul seals all fates.
I get a point.
So, the gay has spoken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mine is actually going to be pretty quick too. So this will be a short little sweet episode, but the content's still good, so it's worth it.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. Yeah, so now a little bit of true crime, and now it's time to get into the paranormal.
The floor is yours, my dear.
That's Twilight Zone.
I know.
Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
And then a stupid little
spiral
lance
thingy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate that ride at Disney, by the way.
Huh?
Makes me sick every time.
What?
That ride at Disney.
Oh.
Tower of
Speaking
Terror.
of Disney, the update 5 for Disney Dreamlight Valley drops tomorrow. At 9 a.m. Drops tomorrow at 9 a.m.
I know what you'll be doing at 9 a.m.
I have work tomorrow, but best believe I'm bringing my Switch to work tomorrow.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Hell yeah.
Anyways, enough about Dreamlight Valley.
There's never enough about Dreamlight Valley. How are you a Disney adult but you don't like Dreamlight Valley? I'm not even a Disney adult and I love Dreamlight Valley.
I don't not like it. It just got repetitive. I was sick of picking up clay and fucking sticks. I was over it. So over it.
I love going into the mines and collecting jewels and then running into my jewel room and throwing them on the ground. I have a jewel room and it's full of jewels. Love it.
You are one that would have a jewel room too.
Yeah. Everyone else is like, sell the jewels. I'm like, absolutely not. I collect all my jewels and then I'm like, and then I sell all my jewels and I'm like, look at all that money I have. And then when it rains, I run to the Forgotten Lands and I plant pumpkins. And one thing about me is I don't have time to wait. So I will time jump like a motherfucker. And so I run to the Forgotten Lands when it's raining and I plant pumpkins like a motherfucker. And then I save my game. I leave. I time jump to the next day and I open my game and look at that. Pumpkins within 2 seconds. Pumpkins. Story time. Go ahead.
You cheating son of a bitch.
I'm a cheating son of a bitch. I don't give a fuck. I'll admit to it. If I wasn't meant to time jump on my Switch, they would not make switching the date that easy.
Yeah, I guess.
I do on Animal Crossing too. I'll admit to it. I don't give a fuck.
I used to do it on Animal Crossing too because I wasn't waiting.
I'll do it on any game. Any game that they make me wait of real time, in real time, I'm time jumping. 100%. Could not be me. I have ADHD again. I have no time to wait.
Got it.
Hyperfixation will end and I will never touch your game again.
Noted. Anyways.
That's Lola Joe's my dear.
Thank you. Father's Day, the day where we all come together to honor our fathers or any relevant father figure in our lives.
Not me.
As well as fatherhood, paternal bonds, and the influence of fathers as a whole in society.
Not me.
This could be honoring your biological father, a stepfather, a grandfather, or even the dads of our beloved fur family and fur friends. Whatever it may be or who you celebrate, thank you to all of the dad figures out there that are helping to raise the next best child or fur child. If anything, even if you're doing the bare minimum as a dad, you aren't as terrible as the story I'm about to tell you today.
Oh, he said the bare minimum? I'm talking about you.
While we are here to celebrate the dads of the world, what better way to do that than to echo the theme of our Mother's Day episode and talk about a terrible and horrible legend regarding a murderous mother and her spirit that causes grave misfortune to anyone that comes near her.
Are you talking about Llorona?
In this week's paranormal segment, I am going to cover the famous legend of La Llorona.
I knew it!
Yeah, I know, you stupid little bitch. I fucking hate you. I can't fucking stand doing this anymore. Every fucking time I can't get my fucking home. Fuck!
I don't know why, but I knew as soon as you said you're going to echo it, I was like, I knew it.
Oh. Proud of you.
I just blacked out.
Good.
Oh.
Back in the 1930s, Patricio Lujan was just a young boy living his best life in New Mexico. He was spending a normal day with his family in the city of Santa Fe. Nothing was out of the ordinary and everything was going quite well. This was all soon to be interrupted and turned around as he and his family caught the sight of a strange woman nearby their property. This woman was someone they had never seen before, and for her to be so close to their property, something just wasn't adding up. All of them huddled together to watch in curious silence as this tall, thin woman who was dressed in all white began to cross the road near their house and without any sounds or words just headed for a nearby creek.
Owning a house seems like an interesting experience because living in an apartment, I never have to worry about someone being on my property because I don't own any property. Living in a house, you constantly have to be like...
Yeah, but I feel like that makes me even more nervous because you don't know who's supposed to be there and who's not.
That's none of my business.
Okay. It wouldn't be until...
As long as you don't come in my apartment, I don't care what you're doing.
I guess. I mean, to a point.
Living here, someone walks on your driveway, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you say, get the fuck off my property.
Yeah, so you have so much to worry about. Not me. I'm like, if you put your key in my door, I'm like, hello. But if you're anywhere, if you are just... I'm like, I don't fucking care.
All right.
Ignorant bliss, man. Am I right?
I guess. It wouldn't be until this woman got closer to the creek that the family began to realize that something was very wrong with this situation. As Patricio states himself, quote, she just seemed to glide as if having no legs, end quote, before she just disappeared. Shortly after, this figure would reappear at a distance far too quickly for any normal woman to have traveled in such a short bit of time, before just disappearing again for good this time, without leaving any clues behind, not even a single footprint or leaf turned over. Patricio was stunned and speechless, but he began to come to his senses and, although disturbed, knew exactly what he was looking at. He had been looking and watching La Llorona herself. So this begs the question, who is La Llorona, and why is she haunting these lands, specifically around creeks and water? Well, the legend of La Llorona itself translates to the Weeping Woman, and is a popular legend throughout the southwest United States and Mexico. While there are various retellings and origins of this legend, one thing is always kept the same. She is always described as a willowy, white figure that appears near water and will always be wailing for her children.
Like a banshee?
Like a banshee. Correct. Great. Good teamwork. Her stories can be dated back over... Her stories can be dated back over 4 centuries, but the origins of the tale have sadly been lost to time. One origin story of La Llorona can be connected to the Aztecs as one of the 10 omens that predicts the conquest of Mexico, or as a fearsome goddess. One goddess is known as
Queen go off.
Ciacotl, or Snake Woman, which has been described as a, quote, savage beast and an evil omen that is always seen wearing white, walking around at night, and constantly cries. Another goddess can be connected to is that of Chalchihuilicue, or the Jaded Skirted One, who was known to oversee the waters and was greatly feared due to allegedly drowning people in those waters she overlooked. In order to honor these goddesses, the Aztecs reportedly would sacrifice children. I want you to know, I tried really hard while writing these notes and also in parentheses to get these names correctly, and I probably still fucked it up.
I, honestly, if anybody tries to correct you, 1, thank you. 2, don't be rude about it because he's trying.
Why are you saying thank you?
Just for, like, giving you, like, the answer. And 3...
I thought you were like, yeah, thanks for being a dickhead to him.
No, like thanks for telling us. But 1, and then 2, at least he's trying. And 3, be nice about it.
Yeah, it's just a gringo coming out of me, okay? In addition to these goddesses and the Aztecs, La Llorona could be linked to an entirely different origin that coincides with the arrival of the Spanish in America, dating back to the 16th century. This version of the legend actually leaves her as being La Malinche, who was a native woman who served as an interpreter, guide, and later mistress to Hernan Cortez during his conquest of Mexico.
This makes me feel very inadequate.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like I'm not a real Hispanic woman.
Oh. The story goes on to say following her birthing of the conquistador's baby, he actually just left her and instead married a Spanish woman. This left La Malinche to be despised by her own people, and it is said that this is when she would go on to murder Cortez's baby in a vengeful rage. Now, while there's no evidence that La Malinche, who did in fact exist, killed her husband or was exiled by her people, it is left to be possible that the Europeans brought seeds of the legend of La Llorona from their homeland, with maybe some embellishments thrown in. Are you saying you feel because do you not know like the backstory? Is that why you're just like?
I just don't speak like any kind of Spanish, but I have obviously very like Hispanic features and stuff. So people can always tell I'm Hispanic, and they always try to talk to me in Spanish, and I'm just like, nope, no. I don't know what you're saying to me, and it just feels very... And you're just over here saying things with accents, maybe saying them wrong. Who knows?
Probably saying them wrong, but I'm trying.
You could, yeah. And it's just like, no.
And Breana's like, could it be me?
It's like, I mean, that one time that I was saying that name, and I was saying it very confidently, and you were like, what was that? But it's like, it was probably wrong.
Exit her?
No, not that. It was,
I know. There's a thing to talk about.
I think it was when I was doing the St. Augustine Lighthouse.
You were trying to say like Pedro something or another, but you were like Pedro, and you were just like throwing like draws in there. I was like, what?
I know. I was like, I'm gonna confidently put an accent here, and you were like, trash me for. I was like, fuck you.
As a whole, the legend of a vengeful mother who slays her own offspring can be traced back to that of Medea of Greek mythology.
Ooh.
She is the one that killed her sons after being betrayed by her husband, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty similar stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Did I get that right? I know you're Greek mythology girly, so you would correct me if I was wrong.
Yeah.
Great. When it comes to La Llorona's ghostly wails and warnings of impending death, this shares some similarities with the Irish banshees, which are supernatural beings in Irish and other Celtic folklore whose wailing, screaming, or lamentation at night was believed to foretell the death of a family member of the person who hears these wails. So like you mentioned banshees before. So, additionally, English parents had a legend of their own by the story of Jenny Greenteeth, which is fucking weird, who would drag
English
children...
people are weird. Be offended.
We don't have any English people.
We do. We have a listener. We have some listeners in the UK.
Oh, awkward.
It's like 1%.
Who would drag children down into a watery grave to keep adventurous children away from water where they may stumble in. So as we can see, the story of La Llorona has the potential to be bits and pieces of other folklore to make one giant monster. Or maybe, just maybe, she truly did kill her children and regret it and now wail at the loss, even after death. So basically, no one really knows the complete origin of where this all started, and she's potentially just a cooking pot of just like different stories melded into one.
Mm-hmm.
So now with the different potentials of where she came from and how her story may have come about, let's learn about some of the different versions of this tale that are told to this day. Starting with the most popular, the legend features a beautiful young peasant woman named Maria, who married a wealthy man. The two of them would live on happily and would even go on to have 2 children together. This happily ever after would sadly come to a crashing halt when Maria's husband would just lose interest in her one day. This leads us to a day when Maria and her children were having a pleasant walk by the river. This was something they enjoyed doing, but on this particular day, things didn't go so pleasantly.
I think this is a version that I heard.
While on this walk, Maria would catch a glimpse of a carriage rolling by, and who just so happens to be in that carriage? Her husband and, of course, a pretty young woman riding beside him that obviously was not Maria. Suddenly filled with rage, this legend goes on to say Maria flung her 2 children into the river, drowning both of them. As Maria sat there and came to her senses, suddenly her rage would turn to regret and despair. She had finally come through and realized what exactly she had just done and succumbed to profound grief that she was now spending the rest of her days wailing by the river in search of the children she just tossed in to the river.
Moral of that story is men are garbage.
And also, don't act on your rage. Take a minute, decompress, think it out.
No. The moral of that story is men are garbage.
That's just a story of... That's just a moral of life.
Men are garbage, yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can say that I'm gay. And also a man. And I can realize my species is gross.
I can just say that because men are garbage.
Now, with the story, there are slight variations that can be told. One finds Maria casting herself into the river immediately after she throws in her children, while another version has Maria being an extremely vain woman who would neglect her children and just live up the night in the town instead. In this particular version, after one drunken evening, Maria would stumble home and be shocked to see that both of her children had been drowned and was cursed for the rest of her life to search for them in her afterlife due to her neglectfulness. When it comes to these different versions, there's always one detail that sticks in the story, and that is that the children will always end up dead, and the woman in the legend will live on, wailing and crying, whether in human or ghost form. When it comes to some traditions, though, La Llorona is feared by many. Some cultures have her being a very vengeful spirit that seizes others' children to drown in a bid to get her own back. In other traditions, she is seen as a warning, and whoever is to hear her wails will soon face death themselves. Now, this was a little quick, the stories and all that, so I actually found a website. It's called legendsofamerica.com that actually have a couple tales about real life La Llorona experiences that I figured I would read real quick because they're pretty short and sweet.
As long as it's not Reddit.
No, it's not Reddit.
This is for you, Romeo.
Completely different site. So this was submitted back in August 2006. The name and city are withheld, so pretty anonymous. It's titled A Kansas Tale. While working as a copy editor for a newspaper recently...
Arkansas. Sorry.
America, explain.
What do you mean, Arkansas? That was an intrusive thought. That was an intrusive thought to the max.
While working as a copy editor for a newspaper recently, I discovered a wire story about La Llorona. That brought back memories of what happened to me while I was a student at Kansas State University in the early 1980s in Manhattan, Kansas, and led me to your website, where I read more about the legend.
Manhattan,
Kansas. Not Arkansas, Kansas.
No, I just think it's funny it's called Manhattan.
Oh. One evening, I went to a mobile home that I seem to remember being near a creek or river to visit a couple of friends who were also attending K-State. As I entered the door, I found them sitting on the sofa, somewhat freaked out. They explained that one of the bar stools had been spinning and hopping around just moments earlier.
Hopping around?
As they were Mexican Americans, they wondered whether the La Llorona had anything to do with the incident. They explained the legend to me as I had never heard about it before. They would invite me to stay the night in a spare bedroom, which I did. Later in the night, a woman appeared to me, lying beside me in bed, and asked if I knew where her children were.
I thought they would be like, and asked if I was down to fuck us. Like, and you say no. At least she asked for consent.
We love that. In the
Queen,
afterlife.
we stand.
Slay. While I may have been dreaming, it seemed like I was half awake. Then I fully awoke and looked up towards the doorway just in time to see a dark figure seemingly looking at me and then quickly ducking back out of the doorway.
No, thank you.
Right then, that left me too scared to go check and see if that was one of the friends checking in on me, perhaps to see why I was talking in my sleep or something.
I'm curious if this person was white or not, because...
It seems like it.
Clearly not, though, if they didn't go check, because a white person would be like, who was that?
I went back to sleep and waited until the morning to ask them if either of them had looked into my room during the night. Neither one did. So to this day, I do not know whether I really did experience a supernatural visit or if my dream and mind played tricks on me. Then we have another one called A Bizarre Coincidence of La Llorona. This one
How bizarre.
was submitted by Tanya Apilar of Eureka, California in November of 2005.
You don't want anything to do with this?
Eureka!
How bizarre. How bizarre.
When I was in the
Nothing
7th grade,
to do with it. Got it.
I had a frightening dream. I saw myself standing on a dark road with the only illumination coming from a dim streetlight. The ground was wet, and in the distance I could hear the sound of rain falling and the tap, tap, tapping of footsteps coming towards me. Peering into the darkness, I could see a woman dressed all in black with a dark, lacy veil covering her face, moving toward me. Strangely, as the mysterious woman grew closer, so did the rain. When the woman was about 15 feet in front of me, she looked over my shoulder. When I turned around to see what she was looking at, I saw a young child dressed in a white nightgown playing with a doll in the middle of a puddle. When I turned back to her, she was right in front of me.
No, thank you.
The veil was lifted, her eyes were abnormally wide, and her face was no more than 3 inches away from mine.
Nope.
Her terrifying eyes stared into mine dead on until I awoke in a panic.
Absolutely not.
I looked toward the window. It was raining. As you can imagine, I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next day,
I wouldn't sleep for the rest of my life. I would not sleep for the rest of my fucking life.
The next day, I shook off the dream and thought nothing more about it until a year later.
I would think about that for the rest of my fucking life. I would think about that every second for the rest of my life. I would need constant
Freddy Krueger
therapy and supervision.
Yeah. I spent the night with my friend Veronica, who also invited another
fucking
friend named Sarah.
And Sarah.
Things always happen when Sarah's around, am I right?
Fucking Sarah.
During the evening, Sarah, of course, who is Hispanic, began to tell some of the Mexicans' culture. Began to tell some of Mexican culture's legends and ghost stories. When she began to tell the tale of La Llorona, I didn't think anything of it at first. Then she began to tell how the legendary spirit travels by water, dressed in all black or white, and is almost always seen wearing a veil. Sarah continued by telling us that La Llorona lifts her veil only to see her victims, and that in their afterlife, she has chosen to help her find the bones of her lost children. Now I constantly wonder if in my afterlife I'll be forced to help her find the bones of her lost children.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
Well,
that's too damn bad.
And there's a bunch more, but I thought that would be cool to incorporate some IRL experiences of what could be La Llorona.
Well, that being said, does that mean that that movie, The Woman in Black with Daniel Radcliffe, does that mean that that's about La Llorona?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You've never seen that movie before?
No. It could be. Google it. I would, but I closed my laptop.
Anyways. Great episode.
Thank you. We have some really great stories. I love us.
We're
us. Really great.
We're great.
Anyways.
You can follow us on Instagram.
Go ahead.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at isntthatoddpod. You can follow us on Facebook, isntthatoddpodcast. You can find our podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcast,
wherever
YouTube.
You listen to this, iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I was like, where do people listen to podcasts?
You can send us an email if you want to kiki with us at isntthatoddpod@gmail.com.
Paul had no time for my brain to work. He said, bitch,
if you go in the
figure
description of this episode or in our social media bios, wherever you want to go, you can find a Google form somewhere that you can give us some ideas for any paranormal true crime or conspiracy theories that you want us to talk about, and we might just talk about it on a future episode.
How bizarre.
I need to get out of here. So, thank you for listening to another episode of the Isn't That Odd Pod. Catch us every Tuesday on all those aforementioned platforms, so the one you're listening to now. And
what was that accent you just had?
Next time, we will catch you on
the flip side, homie.
Yeah, dap me up, bro. Anyways,
Don't
thanks
be
for
a
listening. We'll see you
douchebag.
next time. Don't be a douchebag. Don't be a dick.
Be a menace.
But do great things.
Yeah.
And if you ever see a woman in all black,
don't look her in the face. 2, walk away. 3, wear earplugs. Gotta go. Bye.